Hey guys, it's Robert White here, and we're going to do another episode of Coffee with Me. Now, today is a very cool day. I've got some band members from a Journey tribute band that has been renowned and quoted to be the absolute best Journey tribute band in the world. And I'm super excited to have them sitting with me on this couch, sharing a cup of coffee and talking. They're performing in my town tonight, so hopefully this video will get out there so more people can see it and come out and hang out. But hey, wait till you meet these guys. They're super cool, very chill. They have awesome hair.
So sincere, how could I love you so blind? Set out together, we drifted apart. And here you are by my side. So
Alright guys, so I told you I was going to have some really cool guests today on my Coffee with Me show. It's 2 out of the 5 band members from DSB.
The most important ones.
Yeah, that's a rumor, I think. So we got Roger Kane and Juan Del Castillo, the lead singer and guitar player. Thank you. So we're gonna kind of talk shop, like music a little bit, learn more about the band. Very relaxed, kind of cool things. So we're not gonna stress ourselves out.
Very relaxed. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah,
It's not coffee. I'll just put that out there.
You're not supposed to say that. It's
Already
special
had 5
effects.
cups.
It's coffee special effects.
Coffee special effects, yeah. So we're gonna kind of kick off some questions, and you're both welcome to answer them as we go through them. Some of them are kind of more specific for Juan, but yeah, I think I'm gonna have some questions for Roger too. So first question: why Journey? Why the Journey tribute band?
Because I don't sound like Mick Jagger. That's the short of it.
Whenever we do cover songs or anything, it just sounds like Steve Perry singing them.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
We try to learn a foreigner song just for fun, and he's like, "Oh my God, you sound like Steve Perry." So I'm like, "All right, well that's what we'll do. We'll just stick to that."
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not just Journey that you do. There's some kind of other kind of music and.
Well, no, it's exclusively. I mean, our thing is, we do 150 shows. We do our Journey show. That's what we do.
Okay.
But for select clientele, we've had quite a few corporate clients who want us to extend the night, and it's hard with Journey music to fill a 3-hour time slot. You could, but you're going to play a lot of songs that the people out there don't necessarily know. So for fun, we've added some of some other classic rock classics, if you will, and we've been playing those as an extended show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, one of the best Journey tribute bands, period. I think we have to put that out there because I haven't talked about that yet. Solid Journey stuff. Like, literally, if you're watching this and we don't know each other, you got to go check these guys out. DSBband.com, right?
DSBband.com.
That's where the schedule is.
Exact schedule's on there. You can
Awesome.
also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at DSBband.
All right, very cool. So make sure you go and just open another window on your computer right now and go find some information about these boys. So I have a question. This is more educational for everybody. What's the difference between a tribute band and a cover band?
Oh, I love this question because it's actually changed over time. I think. I think you could actually consider the early Elvis impersonators as kind of a tribute act.
Okay.
And I think that that model of what a tribute band was when those were really popular has kind of transferred over into the early 2000s. But realistically, the way we view it, it's an accurate replication of the music of the band. You know, we do it with, we try to do accuracy and integrity and keep the music as it is. We want to play the music exactly like people remember it, like the record.
Okay.
You know, like Roger, he slaves over getting the tones as close to Neil Sean's. Our keyboard patches are as close to Jonathan Cain's. It's an obsessive approach, obsessive not in a bad way, obsessive approach to getting everything accurately. And to us, that's what the tribute thing is. Because I think if you just put on a wig and some funny clothes, I don't think that makes you sound anything closer to the band. And no knock on the bands that do dress up, but we feel like, you know, Journey even today is played on the radio 4 times, 5 times a day. And I think those versions of those songs stick in people's minds, and that's what we try to replicate.
Very cool. You feel the same way, Roger? Good definition?
Yeah, and I mean, and everybody's got their own personalities and have done their own music and been in bigger bands and things like that, or different cover bands and things where everybody got in this just wanting to do the music and be themselves.
Okay.
Instead of pretending to be somebody else. We just want to nail the music and have our personalities.
It's definitely not an impersonation for me. Sometimes people say, "Oh, Steve Perry, that's a hard guy to do." I'm like, "I'm not doing Steve Perry. I'm just singing myself." And as you know, people I guess think that it sounds like it, so that's good enough for me.
Works totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit and get right with DSB and kind of put some history here a little
Sure.
bit. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about where did singing, music, everything start for each of you? Like, go to your youngest childhood memory kind of deal. Give us some background.
Juan, go first.
Well, I think my parents would say I was singing at the age of 3. I started doing musical theater when I was about 9 years old.
Okay.
And that led
Lion
to...
King or something?
No, actually, it was like The King and I.
Oh, okay.
You ever heard that? Rogers
I
and
have
Hammerstein?
heard of
Yeah,
that.
so I was in that show and did a lot of that in my childhood. And then, I was bitten very young in terms of the music industry. So that's what I knew what I wanted to do since I was a little kid. And like I said, I've been doing it on professional stages throughout, you know, the world, I guess you could say now for like 10 years.
Awesome. How about you, Roger? What's up?
Yeah, for me it was actually kind of cool because my dad had a music degree, and he grew up in South Dakota, and then
Okay.
he moved to Los Angeles, and he actually did arrangements and background vocals on the Lawrence Welk show and the Andy Williams show.
Oh, wow.
And he always had an acoustic guitar, a really awful one, but an acoustic guitar laying around the couches,
Mhm.
never in tune or anything, broken strings sometimes, just kind of be there. And I used to kind of pluck around on it and goof off on it. And I used to kind of play along with the radio and try to figure out just with one note, you know, as a little kid. And I would start playing songs on the radio, and my dad walk around, "How'd you figure that out?" I said, "I don't know, I'm just going to tune these little things and try to figure out what the song was doing." He goes, "Yeah, maybe you should, I'll get you a guitar." And we kind of went from there.
Okay.
My uncle gave me a bunch of rock albums, you know, my first couple albums that I had, and then I just started, you know, learning them.
Were you getting like official guitar lessons, or were you just learning from ear from what you heard on the radio?
All from ear for a while.
Okay.
And then there was a kid down the street, an older kid down the street that knew how to play, and that showed me, you know, how to play a bar chord, a couple things like that, and that's everything, you know,
That's
with
awesome.
rock. And then from there, yeah, then I took lessons. I went to Musicians Institute. I went to LA Recording Workshop. I did all that.
That's really
So,
cool.
Yeah, because I wanted to be able to play anything with anybody and work. So.
Yeah, very cool. Slightly like my story a little bit because I really had done like talk about my music background a lot with, you know, my YouTube audience, but like when I was 16, that's kind of when I got bitten by music.
Yeah.
I was listening to music then, right? But
Yeah.
I really like when I moved to Nashville, got bitten by it all. So I went to an antique, not even an antique shop, a souvenir shop, and bought a guitar. Had no clue what the hell I was
You
doing.
could definitely do that in Nashville.
I
You could
created
do that in Nashville
yeah,
anywhere.
I created my own chords on the very first song that I wrote.
Nice.
And then I went to a writer's night like I was someone famous. And when I got up there and these guys heard me, I was like booed. So I went to the I went into the tuning room and a guy came in there. That's another story, but a guy came in there. He's like, "I got to teach you a couple chords because you can't do this to yourself again." Like,
I love
so
that
he teach
story.
me like the
That's
A's,
great.
the B's, the D's, like the simple country, you know, strums, like. And I spent months and months learning those. And then I came back with a 3-chord song, and he was like, "Yeah, good job, kid." Like it was kind of unique.
That's a
Yeah.
good lesson to those viewers out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So much
Yeah.
of the music business is you just got to act like you're supposed to be there. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, and if you fall on your
Because
face,
if
you just
there's-
get back up and do it
No,
again.
but that speaks to a level of confidence that you need
Mhm.
in this business, because so much of this business is it's up to you guys to tell us whether or not we're really any good.
Right.
That's really what it comes
Right.
down to.
Well-
So if we come in giving you our best, then that's when they're able to.
But you
decide.
get some of that too, right? From artists that are selling albums and ticket sales
Yeah.
and social media following and people that interact and come out to the shows constantly. Like, are there super fans for DSB? Like, are there people that like show up like, how did you get out here?
Yeah, I mean, well, we
All the time.
in DSB we say we don't have fans, we have friends. That's
Oh,
our
perfect.
thing, because
Okay.
truthfully, we're here and we've been doing it now for 10 years because of the people that continue to follow DSB, and thanks to you if you're watching, which you probably are.
They will
thanks to
be,
you.
'cause
But
we
no,
share
we've
it
had
everywhere.
people that have traveled out, as far as Nashville to see us, and then there's people that have seen or watched DSB 20, 30 times a year.
Awesome.
And then there's people that have been watching us. Every year we do an anniversary show, and it's so great to see people that have been there for all 10.
There's some people
Oh,
that
very
don't miss
cool.
any shows. When we're anywhere in Southern
Yeah,
California,
that's
they
true.
go to
Wow.
every show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
that's pretty cool. That's an
Yeah.
awesome friend right there.
it's a great friend. It's a great friend.
Like, show up every time I do something. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Do you like have a fan club? Is there a fan club set up where people can
We
get,
do
like,
have
you know-
a friend operated
Friend, sorry, I'm gonna keep saying
friend
friend. My
operated
bad, my bad.
club
Yeah,
that's
friend.
called DSB Faithful.
Okay.
And it's growing in numbers. It actually recently just started because it's part of our 10th anniversary celebration that finally got going. But we're very proud of the people that are there, and they post and they engage, and that's the big part is getting people to engage and to spread the word, because this band was built on the word of those friends.
Very cool. Let's talk about the build process.
Let's talk about it.
DSB.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
know it's Don't Stop Believing,
Don't
right?
stop believing, exactly.
The Journey song.
Yes.
But the creation of the band, how did all the guys come together? Where did you guys meet? Like, how did that all set up?
Well, the long story short is only because there's so many different, there's chapters. So, but the
We'll
long
work on
story
the
short
book
is
next year.
myself and the founding keyboardist were in a Journey tribute band, and we saw another band, a cover band, playing in Vegas, and really dug those musicians. So we left the Journey tribute band and joined forces with the guys in the cover band and formed DSB. That was back at the end of 2008. Our very first show was 2009.
Yeah.
Okay.
January of 2009. Yeah.
So we were kind of chit chatting before we sat down to
Yeah.
record this, and there were some names being dropped on people that had seen DSB play, things like that.
Yeah.
But the true question is like, and I'm maybe I'm aging some of us, maybe I'm not, but Stephen Perry or Arnell, either one of them, have you met them, talked to them, have they seen you play? Any feedback?
Steve Perry, you're very elusive. Someday, we hope that someday we'll run into Steve Perry. I had the privilege of meeting all the guys. I met Ross Valerie, Dean Castronovo, Neil Sean, Arnel Pineda, and Jonathan Kane. I was able to meet them. Actually, it was after I believe it was Arnel Pineda's first domestic show.
Okay.
So I got a chance to go.
Was it like, hey, I'm in a Journey tribute band, and then he just like
No,
waved and
no,
walked
no,
away?
no.
Like,
That's
were you the
thing-
crazy
that-
guy in the crowd?
No, that's
or-
the thing you have to understand.
Was it like,
is
oh,
we
hey,
do-
Juan, you guys are awesome. Yeah, we really appreciate what you're doing.
No, at the very heart of DSB, we are fans, and that's the way
Very cool.
that's the way I approach them. I approach them as a fan. What am I gonna say? Oh yeah, I know all your songs.
We're
'cause I
making
sing
money
them.
off your music.
Yeah,
Thank
no.
you.
Well, that's a whole other thing. But no, it's you go. That's the great thing. If you have a chance out there to go out and see a band that you love, and do it now, because you never know. You never know. They may not be around very long, or it's just it's one of those things. You definitely want to see the people that you admire in a live setting. It's a different experience than watching them, watching a video on YouTube or anything like
Right.
that.
I think REO Speedwagon's on the list for me.
REO
They're on my
Speedwagon's
bucket
great.
list, and I need to hurry.
Yeah, no, you know what? They're really great. We did a show with them and Loverboy a couple years ago now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
Arkansas,
man,
Missouri border right there.
that's right. And
Nice.
man, they are as hot as ever. They sound really great. really impressed with even Mike Reno still singing.
Yeah,
really,
man.
still singing great. All the Loverboy stuff, and we actually you're good friends with Dave Amato from
Yeah,
REO
guitar player from
Speedwagon.
REO Speedwagon.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's we all live in the same neighborhood. Me and a lot of other musicians that we've got to know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's yeah, and they've all come out to see us at different times.
Dave actually got up on stage, and
Yeah, he came up on stage and played Separate Ways, and then had fun. And guys like Greg Bissonette, who's a famous drummer, and Thomas Lang have been out to see us. Those guys knew Scotty, and
Okay.
those guys would come out and watch us. And actually, Greg Bissonette called Steve Perry while he's watching us, saying you should be there and check these guys out. And,
so we're just crossing our fingers. Maybe someday it'll happen.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
there.
Every show there's an extra microphone on stage because you never know.
You just never know who's going to show up.
You
That's
never
super
know.
cool.
And he's always on the guest list +1, always.
Okay.
Because you never know.
Okay, so like kind of a cliche question. I think this one gets asked to a lot of people. Living or not, who's
Okay.
one person you want to sit down and just have a drink with and like talk with?
Well, that's kind of
Who's
obvious
that
now.
guy?
After saying that, no, I mean, like I said, I was able to meet all the other members of Journey, and I'm really close friends with Journey's original drummer Ainsley Dunbar
Okay.
of Whitesnake fame and
Mhm.
Bowie and Zappa, that fame,
everybody.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, and I'm privileged to know him, and we have a really good relationship. But it would have to be Steve Perry.
Yeah.
Because I have a very intimate knowledge of what it's like to sing the music, so I
Mhm.
would have some technical questions to it.
Oh. Okay.
I would have some technical questions that maybe might cover why things are a certain way, and then, I don't know, maybe get
So
some
not
insight.
like his perspective on where he was when he wrote the song.
No, that too. But I
That-
also,
yeah.
as a fan, I also know some of those stories. Like I know that you wrote "Who's Crying Now" on your drive up from Los Angeles to San Francisco. I know that. So there's stuff like that I know because
That's
I'm a
cool.
fan. But,
What about you, Roger?
Well, I grew up in an entertainment family out in Malibu, California, so we kind of
Like
known
you're-
everybody.
Like I met them all, doesn't that?
Yeah, and all over the years,
There's not
stuff
one.
like that. I'd say for me, be like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Oh, okay.
Just to see somebody of that kind of caliber who just doesn't exist anymore,
Uh huh.
just would be interesting to talk with someone like that
Okay.
over anything.
So he wants to jump in the time machine. He wants to go way
He
back.
wants
yeah,
to-
yeah.
He wants
Back
to like.
to the future. That's where he wants to go.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I want to know more about like band life and road life and just traveling. I think people get really interested about like what's happening on the tour bus and what's going on behind the scenes. And so, give me like just one story from the road that kind of like, takes care of this whole question. Like just one story.
Well, first
that
of all,
says-
I want to say we're very lucky in that we've done it all. We've done
Okay.
we've done the car trips, we've done the bus trips, we've done the plane trips, obviously. But we always say that we don't get paid for what we do on stage. We get paid for all the travel and the lugging of the gear. What we do on
The
stage
hard
is for
work, the
free.
labor work.
But we did a tour that was 6,000 miles in a bus across the entire U.S. and it was late one night, and we were like in the Tennessee border, right?
Oh yeah,
We're
yeah.
It's like, oh,
We
this
were
story.
heading
You guys
east,
talk
and it
about
was-
that one?
And it was,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
one of those. It was, the night was moist. There was a thin layer of fog in the air. It was a little chilly,
Just after midnight. Too.
and it was
Yeah.
Roger's turn to drive. So he was driving this, 40-foot long,
Had our keyboard
RV.
player sitting right next to me.
Okay.
You always have somebody a shotgun, making sure the other guy's not too tired. and
Yeah,
keeping
we
an
got-
eye
we got
out,
guys in the back.
navigating, and all.
Guys in
that.
the back are playing video games and stuff, and before everything's just chill, and all of a sudden it's like. What? I almost whacked that thing. I was gonna do the sound
It's
effect,
really
right?
good. We'll
It
try
was
to
like,
viral people.
whack! You just hear this really, really loud sound, and
Well, it sounded like you hit a car going full speed.
oh yeah,
I mean, it was incredibly loud, and what I
Wow.
saw was a flash of a deer, a female deer,
yeah.
that almost made it across, but the right side here hit the deer and took out the whole right side of
Oh,
the
yeah.
front of the bus.
So you're like abandoned on the side of the road for a minute, or was it?
No, it was
drivable, or-
an exit right there. So we slowed down, kind of looked around. It was driving okay, so we exited right off that right into a truck stop, and checked everything out, and it was all drivable. We just had to, kind of jerry rig the headlight and things like that, get stuff to hold together,
Right.
and we finished the trip that way.
Yeah, it was very. It was good.
It's
It turned the RV
Rented
into like
bus,
a
or you
friggin'
got own the bus?
No,
Like,
no,
Was there
this
more
was-
aftermath
yeah.
after the deer thing?
It was an owned bus by our original drummer Scotty.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he owned that one, and we toured with that one for a little while.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
So the other part of being entertainers is what happens on stage
Yeah.
and the craziness you get to see from being up there. So give me a story, like a brief story about something just off the wall that happened while performing.
Oh, I got one. Well, see, because we've
I
done.
think you have a couple actually.
We've
but-
done
Too many of them.
There's too
we've
many.
done we've done some of these songs. I mean, we're in the tens of thousands of times
Yeah.
we've performed these. We've been, we do 150 shows a year over the span of now going on 10 years. So it's I don't really have to think about the minutia of the songs.
Mhm.
So a lot of my show is I'm people watching. It's fun to have people react to what you're doing. So that's the fun
Interesting.
part for me is I'm really people watching. So we were in San Diego, we were House of Blues, and I can picture it. It's we're in the middle of the show, and they put a barrier up toward the stage to keep the people from getting too close,
Mhm.
which I don't really like. I like people to be in your face, you could touch hands and stuff like that. But whatever,
Right.
they have that barrier there. And there was a tall lady, a bigger lady, and she was so excited. At one point in the show, she had her hands up in the air so high that she tumbled all the way over that wall head first.
Oh no!
You saw her legs straight up in the
You
air.
saw this, and then
like right out of a
like that.
cartoon, just like bloop.
And I gotta hold it together. I mean, obviously, I'm
You wanna laugh, but-
concerned for her safety, but at the same time, it's one of the funniest things you ever see to see an adult human, tall human, be completely inverted.
Yeah, you get funny things, and we're at a local place called Sagebrush Cantina, which is kind of like a big popular place in LA used to be a big biker hangout.
Okay.
And then it turns out to be like kind of, a big yuppie place, and a lot of older rockers go there. Springsteen goes there, people like that.
Oh, nice.
And you play there, and there's tons of musicians from all famous musicians hanging out. And we'd play there, and it would be packed, and some girl took off her bra, threw it at me on
I
stage.
literally had it in quotes on
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Have you ever had a bra thrown at you?
Yeah,
Like that's.
so
I was like,
yeah.
I knew something like that.
Right at me, and so I grabbed it, stuck it around Juan's neck, and he finished the rest of the set that way.
Yeah, that video is somewhere.
Were you married when that
somewhere.
happened?
I don't think I was, but definitely committed.
We'll try to block her.
It was all respect. It was all
I'll
respectful.
make sure she doesn't see this somehow.
It was all
Yeah,
respectful.
yeah.
Yeah, I figured it was kind of that.
It was all
crazy
good
kind of-
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
all
a
good
YouTube
stuff.
video of it. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for
People
that
are
one.
searching now.
People are gonna be yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about like the behind the scenes? This is more educational for people that want to kind of be in the industry. Like I know performing and stuff it's not easy. It's hard work. It takes preparation, building everything up, lots of practice. Like what's kind of like your go-to to just stay healthy, keep your vocals clean, all that kind of stuff.
Vocals are all about rest, sleep, and water.
Okay.
That's the recipe.
No secret trick like a lime in your water or anything like that.
Anything warm is good for you. Never drink cold water on stage. Always have room temperature water. Make sure your sinuses are clear. If you have allergies, make sure you're on that medication. All that type of stuff. But the main thing is, it's amazing how you need to allow your voice to regenerate. So if you make sure you have a good night's sleep before a show.
What about just staying fit? You're not like a
Yeah,
you're not
no.
a boring guy. You don't stand in front of the microphone. You're moving
Yeah.
around and you get a little
You have
excited
to
on
move
stage
around a
and-
little bit, and the last thing, breathing is the number one thing when it comes to singing. So you want to make sure that you're able to maintain your breath. So it's a good idea to hit the gym every now and again.
Good deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think guitar players have it any lighter. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's taking care of your calluses and practicing and all that good stuff. So like,
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for so long that everybody's got their own ways of, keeping everything going.
okay,
But yeah, I've always been active my whole life pretty much, so. And as much traveling as we're doing, and we're doing traveling ourselves. When I've toured with national acts in the past, you're being picked up, people are driving you, you're not worrying about any of that. No
Mhm.
logistics, you're not trying to figure out where you're going. You just sit and relax or fall asleep.
There's
We're
okay.
doing all the driving,
There's
all
a lot
the
of
traveling,
autonomy
all
in
the
it.
there's
Every
really not much
advance.
downtime then, really.
and we're running through airports, and this is consistently. And hey, we probably get enough exercise just running from plane to plane.
Yeah. Especially when you land in Atlanta.
yeah. So you were saying like on stage that it's more people watching for you because you're kind of like tuned in on the music
Well,
and
we
stuff.
have a very, I think it's a very unique situation because what we're able to do is we got this arsenal of hits that we show up. There's
Mhm.
12 bona fide Journey songs that those are hits, right? So we show up. If we just played the hits, that's a 45-minute show.
Okay.
So all we got to do is show up and play, and then these are songs that people just love, and it's like it's a just add water type of reaction. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
what people are into. We're of the mind that, you know, people love DSB. Yes, we get that, but
Right.
what they really love is the music of Journey. So as long as we just show up and do what we're supposed to do, people are gonna have a great time.
Is it like second nature, like just
Oh yeah.
like just getting up? Like
Yeah, definitely.
the biggest thing for me, like when I was kind of in the artist world, was memorization. Even my own songs.
Yeah.
It was hard to remember like what came next after that chorus. So
Yeah.
with you guys, you're saying it's like it's just tuned in, like it's
Absolutely.
just there.
Yeah.
Well, plus, I mean, everybody doing this has been doing this their whole life, so you're
Okay.
used to learning songs.
Yeah.
When I did some Minnie McCready stuff, a friend of mine who's a keyboard player in Nashville, a big time guy out there, was playing guitar, and they asked me to come do these radio dates the next day, where it's just he and I and acoustic guitars singing some backgrounds of Minnie McCready singing, and you know, you crowd around a microphone when you do those things, and you have to know the stuff. And so I went out there the night before and learned, man, including capos and things like that, maybe you know, probably about 20 songs.
Well, there was the
Wow.
whole
That-
thing that you did on Singing
The
Bee
night
too.
before you had to learn 20 songs?
Yeah. So go through those things and then go play all those live on radio station after radio station after radio station,
Wow.
and then do a show that night.
Well, there
you
was
know.
there was also a time in DSB where the CMT show, the Singing Bee, pretty much hired DSB the band to be on that show, and you had
Okay.
to learn like how many songs in such a short span.
Yeah, there were crazy amounts of songs, and so they had their ways of doing it. That was interesting with it, and that got going from a friend of mine, Steve Dorff, who's a huge hit songwriter. He's in the
Okay.
Hall of Fame now.
Awesome.
So he did all the stuff for, you know, Cross My Heart, George Strait, and, you know, every hit song you can basically think of, he's in there somewhere.
So it's just
So
like it's kind of
he
like
said CMT is looking. He wants to put together a band for the show, but he wants a bunch of good-looking guys. You know what he could?
it's like I know a couple.
What about your band? Does your band be interested in doing it? So it kind of came across that way. So
Yeah, but I was just amazed that like within a week, like you had to learn like 50 songs, something like that, just to
That's
play
a
them
lot.
for the show. It's a lot.
yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah.
So here's kind of like a fun one, I guess. Is there like a before you go on stage ritual? Like, is there like a take a deep breath, pray to God, high fives? Like, what's the?
I always take a mental space to do that.
Okay.
I always do. I don't know how many out there are really tied into their faith, but I'm reminded every day of His role in my life. You know, it's I'm able to do what I do night after night, and
Mhm.
I definitely take a moment to acknowledge that presence, and I always close the show with that same moment. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, everybody kind of just does their own thing. Nobody, I think, really has much of anything. I'm doing whatever I'm doing just till I walk right up on stage.
Okay.
So nothing in particular.
Like you send the last text right before you get into the spotlight.
Well, there is that too. You know, oftentimes I'm either texting my wife or you know, giving her a call real quick before the show. That's also a ritual. It's, you know, I think
That's cool.
I think it helps you stay connected. You know, that's really important, especially as a musician on the road.
Yeah, very cool. What about achievements for DSB in general? What's the biggest thing you guys have done so far? And there's a lot. We talked about
No,
bands
but
you've
I'd have to
seen
say
you and things you've done, but
I'd have to say the biggest thing is our staying power. I think, you know, we've won the awards. We've won a Vegas award. We've been on, you know, World's Greatest Tribute Bands. We've done a lot of those things.
Yeah,
But
we've done the Hallmark Channel show,
Yeah.
where we played live on that, and then also Fox 5 in Vegas. We
Yeah.
played live on that show, so you can find those clips of actually
cool.
performing the song on the TV show.
yeah, we have those accomplishments. Like I said, I think the biggest is
so just
is-
realizing that you created something so cool, and for the last 10 years you have all these opportunities.
Yeah,
not
and
just
it's
one
here's the
big
thing:
one.
it's still growing.
Yeah.
Last year was our biggest year, and it's going every year. It's growing. We're it just continuing to expand. We're getting new venues, new clients, and more opportunities to play. And that's the thing that I think when you think back to when we started this in 2009, to think that we were going to be traveling as much as we do and have as many shows as we do and be as busy as we do. We're fortunate enough to call this a full-time job for us, and you know it's
Yeah,
not
it's
something that
it's
you would
full-time
expect
already.
going into
Right.
you know how we started.
So it's not a job though if you're doing something you love full time, right? It's
Well, it
just-
doesn't feel like a
it
job.
doesn't feel like a job.
Doesn't feel like
I mean, there's the
exactly.
labor parts, driving and doing all that part of it.
Yeah, but it's not
But-
like a full 40-hour work week or anything like that, or being outside in the elements,
Oh, right.
slugging a hammer and all that. It's nothing like that. But
Right.
it definitely has its challenges. But at the end of the day, when you have thousands of people screaming the lyrics back to a song that you didn't write, but it's just as fun to play.
Fun, yeah.
And at the very end, they're standing and applauding and want more songs. Like that's a pretty cool end of the day.
That
you
is
know?
cool. Yeah,
That's-
very cool. I don't know if any of my fans are local, by the way, but you can hear these guys play in Corning, New York tonight. So if you're like within 3 hours of this place, you can actually drive and see them perform tonight. So you should. But I'm going to put you guys on the spot a little bit more now. So this is not just DSB, and it's not just your past. The music industry is like constantly changing. There's always stuff going on, right? There's new bands, new music, new whatever.
Right.
Let's just kind of dissect it a little bit, like just the music industry in general.
Sure.
Where do you kind of feel it's at, like right now compared to 10 years ago? What are like some of the positive and negatives that you're seeing of the industry?
The emphasis of how the model the way it always was is you get in the studio to record an album so you go out and support it live.
Amen to that.
That was the whole
Yeah.
reason. It's the opposite now. It's
Yep.
the complete opposite. Now you're trying to get out and play, and you record a record really quickly. You really don't do much promotion on it because it's not going to have very long staying power because of all the digital presence, right?
Yep.
So now the original tool that you're going out to support now becomes a merchandising element that allows you the revenue to continue performing live and continue doing that cycle over and over again. So it's
I see.
completely opposite.
Completely opposite.
Completely
Well, and the great thing about being in tribute bands, you don't have to do any of that. You're just going out and playing the music live.
Yeah.
Right,
That's true.
right. You're
That's
on
true.
the road nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the artists that I was just kind of getting to know and started working with 2 years ago. She was in Florida and I was in New York, and I flew her up here and we met and talked a bunch about her career and where she wanted to go. And she was like, "I just want to make videos and put them on YouTube." I'm like, "No." Like, we're going to build an album and you're going to go on tour and people are going to know your name and you're going to interact with people and there's going to be like meet and greets and Q&A and like, I want to do that aspect. But I guess that's, like you're saying, it's like, that's kind of old news now. Like,
Well, and
You
all
can-
those
you can
things
build
are
a career online
you
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
It's,
and just never go on tour possibly.
I don't think so because I think when you do it as close to the old way, the traditional way, I
Mhm.
think that still has some legitimacy and some credibility. So
Right.
somebody who's YouTube famous or Insta famous doesn't necessarily translate into playing huge festivals, huge venues
Right.
everywhere.
Unless
So
they
you-
can really go and do
They
it.
need
Yeah,
they
yeah.
need to work hand in hand. So I think the online presence should be subsidiary to the legitimate presence, which is
Right.
in the venues that people know. And if you're playing a venue that Trace Adkins played or Dixie Chicks or whatever, you know what I mean. If you're playing those venues, then people go, oh wow, you're like them.
Right.
But if you're on YouTube, you're just like the crazy person that keeps falling in accidents and stuff on videos.
Yeah, I
you know
think
what mean?
and I think back in the day, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago actually, music was, if I went to see a band live, they sound a lot like their album. It's
Mhm.
not that way anymore.
Mhm.
It's
Oh,
really,
yeah.
there's always little things, right? But it's more dramatic now.
Right.
Like, so you could create a completely edited, music career online, but the idea is that as soon as you perform live and people really see what you're about,
Yep.
it's over.
Yeah, you sink or swim.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's technology working for you and against you. At the
It's
same
completely
time.
against you, as Mariah Carey found out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So that kind of answers my next question, so we're going to skip that one. But like, what's one thing that you love about new music? Like 2018, like what's in your iPod like that's brand new?
I just love hearing the fact that even with all this technology, there is still some real talent out there.
Good.
And it's great to hear that come to the forefront, whether you're listening to Bruno Mars or
Mhm. You guys
Adele
cover them.
or but all those I mean, for me, I've always followed the vocalist. That's how I've always determined my favorite
Yeah.
bands. When you're listening to Boston, you're listening to Foreigner, you're listening to Journey, Queen, all that stuff. Like, to me, those vocalists really stand out, and they're exceptional. So when I listen to current music, you know, that's why I was really big into Linkin Park. Even not,
Yeah.
they're not as current, but still, like the loss of Chester Bennington, you know, that was a big loss, or Chris Cornell, obviously, you know. But I love the fact that you still have newer people coming into the mix and making their own legacy.
Right. What do you
Yeah.
got?
It's well, I mean, I started playing guitar because I like guitar riffs. Like
Okay.
back in the day, classic rock, every song started with a guitar riff.
Okay.
That's why I got interested in guitar. I heard that sound. I'm like, I want to learn that,
Right.
whatever that is. And so you get some of that, you know, now. But I mean, it was very. It's I don't like really listen to a lot of new stuff. You know, like Juan was saying, there's still lots of really good artists that are out there, and then a lot of other people that are more programmers and things.
Well,
and,
it used to
Yeah.
be. It
And,
used to be. You would get out. You would sit in your practice in your room with your amp, and you'd play and play and play and play and play, and then you take that, and you go on stage and you play and play and play. Now there's not a necessity to really master your instrument because you can sit there with a laptop and you can play it till you get it right.
Mm-hmm.
Record that and then put that out. But then what happens when you got to play that live?
yeah, and
You're-
some
you're in
don't.
trouble.
Some just put that out and go out there.
Yeah,
and play
yeah.
it off the computer. So
If I ever went to a concert and saw a guy set up a laptop and then grab a microphone, I'd leave.
Well, yeah,
That's just like-
now. I mean, I can.
I mean, DJs are okay. I'm cool with
Yeah.
DJs, like the electronic guys that are really doing it right. Like that's
Right.
for that, but that's a better genre.
that's DJ.
That's
Yeah,
DJ.
that's a different thing.
If it's another thing where they're just setting it up and hitting play and then they're doing karaoke style, like I'm out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, as a singer, you can go to a studio, sing something a couple times, and be done. And then
Mhm.
they're gonna tune it and make it the way it needs to be, the sound that's
Right.
ready for radio. Whereas, you know, you should go in there singing it in tune and knowing it, as opposed to allowing the
Exactly.
engineer to make you the singer that you
The
think you
less
are.
studio help, the better.
Absolutely.
Period.
Because
Like, get
otherwise, it's
real
gonna
talent.
suffer live. It's gonna
Yeah.
suffer live.
Yeah. Like call Simon Cowell, he'll tell you you suck, and you won't go in there like that. Like that's where you really, some people really need to do that.
Sometimes
There's some new music now because I'm more real about everything. But there's some music now that I'm just kind of like, how did you get a record deal? Like
There
how
is.
did you get here?
But then there's some out there that you're just like, you know, I've been listening a lot to Greta Van Fleet, and I'm so
Wow.
blown away by them. Like, I love that. You know
There's
what I
some
mean?
really good stuff,
That's some
yeah.
real talent there, and I dig what they're doing. You know, but you know, it's definitely, you know, like I said, you have to act like you belong there.
Mhm.
But in order to belong there, you got to put the time in.
Right. So this kind of adds to the industry changing with technology.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece of it. The further technology goes, what's it taking away from like really big, like that's part of it. Like I don't really need to learn guitar anymore. I can go just get on my keyboard and
Mhm.
figure out how to hit the right buttons to make a track go down.
A lot of-
And then,
a lot of
so
people
technology kind of
nowadays-
affected some of that stuff. But
A lot of people nowadays writing songs aren't actually writing the chords. They're taking pieces of music that you can just grab offline and start playing that and add other pieces to it and then
Oh.
start making up your own vocal
Yeah,
and
you're
words
just
over it.
You're just
So
kind of
it's-
arranging samples.
Yeah.
Or arranging, you know, clips or loops, and then creating your song.
Instead of really being trained
Right, right.
musically
Right.
and doing it your whole life.
yeah, just going out there and singing and learning an instrument and spending years to learn something
Fundamentals.
really
You
well.
get fundamentals. You have to have I think it's important you have a fundamental knowledge of theory because it's everywhere you go. It's everywhere you go. in the music
Yeah.
industry.
So here's a question. We mentioned Mariah Carey earlier.
Yeah.
Instant thought process about people singing their own music but lip singing it for live events. Like, what's your opinion?
Ooh.
Bad, good, like
I can't stand it. But
I-
I understand having to do it for specific things. Like there's some award shows where they just don't have time to be able to switch over everything for each act,
mhm.
and you just can't do that. So you kind of have to go and do that. Some guys just don't like to, so they just won't do it. But other ones will because you still want to have that performance.
Right.
And people know that this person's a real artist, they can sing and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So there's give and take. When you're doing that on concert tours, I don't like it at all.
Right.
I think if you're one of those
No
running
Milli
around,
Vanilli-acs.
or one of those people running around and singing and doing all that dancing, you should like what Pink does. She sings everything, no matter what she's doing, whether she's on a trapeze
Yeah.
or she's running around.
I'm happy you brought that up because this is the way I was going to answer the question.
Yeah.
Was
Pink's a
uh,
great example of
yeah.
doing
here's
it right.
here's
Really
the deal.
doesn't.
Here's
Yeah.
the deal. national anthem. Let's talk about national anthem, just like that. You know,
Mhm.
there's many renditions. People are going to talk about their
We can
favorites.
talk about the basketball game.
The
rendition?
Whitney Houston's version is one of the most
Fergie
famous.
version?
No, hold on. The Whitney Houston version is probably the most famous, the most downloaded, the most revered version. That was lip synced.
Okay.
That was lip synced. So a lot of people don't know that.
But that was for marketing.
hurts
That was
That
for
does hurt a
that
little
was
right
well.
now.
There's a lot of elements in
Yeah.
the stadium you got to deal with, but
Right.
Pink was without a voice a couple days prior to her version of this recent Super
And
Bowl.
still sang it live.
She came out. She just put on her big boy pants and came out and did it. She knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but you know what? The heart is what translated. The
Right.
ability to do what's inside of her and put that out live. That's the main reason why I will always be against anyone that lip syncs.
Yeah, live concerts it's got to be live. I have to hear your voice. It's okay.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the other point where if you're working off studio tricks too much, we're gonna catch you when we see you live. So.
I think it's fun to hear, you know, these songs. Whenever you write a piece of music, it takes so many shapes. Lots of times you write for the record, so you're getting it to a place where you want to print it. But then over time, when you perform it live, you change things that you would have probably done before when you're writing for the
right.
record. So it's nice when you go hear an artist live to hear how they've changed it or how it's become more personal to them
There's so many
than it was
really
for the
amazing
recording.
like,
right?
live things that
Yeah.
happen too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to Hotel California, the Eagles version, the live version. I prefer it.
Yeah.
I prefer it to the
Or
recording
the
version.
like the acapella intro to the song that you don't get to hear on the CD.
Exactly.
Like that stuff's cool
Right,
when they
yeah.
really make it unique for each
Yeah.
audience.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part about seeing
Makes
that
sense.
live.
What about we're just kind of staying on modern music thing right now. Do you think Spotify and Pandora are helping or hurting the industry?
It's tough to say. That's
I mean,
something that you have
Spotify's
to.
got lawsuits for days right now
Yeah.
because of royalty things, but
Well,
but
because
for music in
the-
general and
The
exposure.
laws aren't shifting with the advancement of technology. That's always going to be
Right.
a problem. Technology is moving so fast, so everything is trying to be retroactive, and that's not going to happen. So, in terms of Spotify and Pandora, I don't know that. Truthfully, it helps us.
Well, yeah.
It helps us because when somebody types Journey into their or somebody types a band that is synonymous with Journey, whether you type in Foreigner or Speedwagon, then Journey comes in the playlist, and if they're not as interested in Journey before, they may end up. So that helps us. But I think for the original artist, I personally think it's hurting. I think it do because it's too. The markets are getting so saturated, and then the artists are only seeing pennies on the dollar for what is rightfully theirs, their intellectual property.
Yeah, I think you're right about the technology thing, though. It's moving so fast that big industries that have been around forever, music and the modeling industry and publication industry and all these different things that I kind of have my hand in, they can't keep up. Like the rules and regulations just haven't stayed with that stuff.
Right.
So that kind of makes sense. So these companies are getting the brunt of it, but they're dealing with 20-year-old laws and rules, not
Exactly.
what happened in 2017, 18
Exactly.
right now. So that makes sense. All right, last question.
Okay.
And then we're going to cut you loose so you can go do your hair and get ready for your show. Just think about all those kids. Man. There's a ton. I don't have a big child audience, but if there was a 14, 15-year-old guy that really looked up to you and was like, man, I want to be a singer someday, it's one of the ones that hits me the most too, because I was the guy in the audience that looked up to somebody.
We all were.
I think we all were
Yeah.
at some point. So if that kid comes up to you after the show and he asks you like, how do I get into the industry? What advice do you kind of give that kid? Like, good, bad, or ugly? Like,
we
whatever.
We get that all the time.
Mhm.
All the time.
You have to stay active. First of all, figure out how much you love what you do. And if you really love it, like you can't do without it, then put the time in and work and play wherever you can. Don't turn down gigs because they don't pay enough. Don't not play a certain venue because you don't agree with certain aspects of it. Get out and play because you never know. You never know who's going to be out there. I got my record deal because I was working in a restaurant, and then I happened to be singing it. And next thing you know, that's now I'm in Miami recording an album and working with incredible people. And you just never know. You have to take the love and passion you have for what you do and just don't stop doing it. Keep doing it and do it and do it.
Yeah, and I get like every single show, there's a kid or even a grown-up wanting to play guitar. But if it's a kid, getting started, I'll tell all of them, take some lessons so you can learn the basic chords, things like that, and then start learning cover songs. Learn cover songs and go out and play cover. Put a band together, get out, start playing together, and just keep playing. That's how you're going to get better and better and better. And during that time, everybody keeps taking lessons and getting better at their own thing. And then that's what I did. I went from, I'd get in the band, I was the worst one in the band, then I'd be the best one in the band, then I would hopscotch to the next one that was better, and I just climbed that ladder all the way up till you're playing with, you get to a point where every band you're in, everybody's good. Now it's how does everybody get along, and if you like the same music, and then you go from there. And the same guys that I learned from, guys like Tim Pierce, Mike Landau, who are big time studio guys, I was that guy asking them every question, why are you using this pedal? Why are you using that? How did you do that? And I learned from all that, so I definitely, and I get that a lot in emails and stuff as well, and I'll write back all of them and, tell them, what I think.
That's awesome.
They should do to
And that's
get
impressive
started.
for me.
It doesn't matter if you're a good or not, you're gonna get good.
Yeah.
Right.
If you work
That's why you got to keep doing. The byproduct of getting out and playing way outweighs the byproduct of sitting at home and trying to get it right.
Yeah, Duran, that band put the band together before they knew how to play their instruments. They all kind of dabble, but nobody actually was a player yet.
Oh, okay.
They just knew they wanted to have a band and they wanted to do it with these guys, and everybody learned it. So
Makes sense.
That's cool.
Yeah.
U2 is a little bit the same way. So
It's cool that you have that kind of open door policy too, that you are responding to emails and interacting with people. There's a personality trait that comes with some talent that's kind of negative. So you're looking up to someone, you're really kind of impressed with them, and then you get to find out they're kind of a jerk maybe, and you're kind of like that. So it's cool that you're open about all that stuff, because you're going to have a lot of kids watching and seeing you, and I'm sure you've already inspired guitar players and singers and people that are kind of already in the industry, kind of making it. My advice, like just from my perspective, is that like if you're a teenage kid and you're trying to learn, don't rush it. You got a lot of life to live still. You have plenty of years to practice and learn and do what you need to do. And I love your point about go out there and make something happen. Like my story briefly was I had the confidence to go in there and play when I knew absolutely nothing and got booed off the stage. But it sat with me and I got better. And then eventually you grow.
When people talk about an it factor, that's really the it factor.
Yeah, really.
It's the fact that when you get knocked down, because you're gonna get knocked down. You're never, especially your first performances aren't gonna be your best, but it's getting back up and going to do it again and continuing. You almost have, there's a level of being stubborn. You got to be stubborn and do it because you love to do it, and eventually you'll get the accolades.
Plus, how many artists and bands have you heard that got turned down by everybody, and everybody saying no, 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 but they kept at it, and they're some of the biggest bands and biggest artists in the world now.
Absolutely.
So you just keep going.
Yeah, the stories that hit me aren't even musical acts, actually. Like Michael Jordan, cut from a high school basketball team, and now look at his legend, what he left behind. Oprah getting cut from 500 jobs, and now look at her. Like, you just have to follow those directions.
There's something that you can't compare your path in the music industry to those of athletes, except for that, in that way.
Yeah.
Because in athletes, you're getting an immediate, there's a way to quantify your excellence, whether it's a 40 time, whether it's a long jump time, like a distance or whatever. But when it comes to performing, it's really subjective. It's like what you're doing. It may measure high on somebody else's metric, but maybe not on another person. So again, that's where the passion and the love for doing it supersedes all of it.